Imagine a life where every sunrise feels borrowed, where each breath you take is not yours to keep, but a temporary gift that could be taken at any moment. That is the reality of countless souls born beneath the shadow of the God Emperor of mankind in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. In this galaxy of endless war and crushing despair, existence itself is a privilege bought with blood and faith. And for some, perhaps the most unlucky or perhaps the most devout, life ends not on the battlefield or in the factories of hive cities, but upon the golden altar of the Imperium's most sacred duty, being sacrificed to the Emperor of humanity. You might think of sacrifice in terms of myth or metaphor, a word used by ancient cultures to describe offerings to their gods. But in the Imperium, sacrifice is not symbolic. It is physical, absolute, and terrifyingly real. Every single day, thousands of Psykers, humans born with the dangerous gift of psychic power, are taken from their worlds, their homes, their families, and delivered to Terra, the throne world of mankind. Their fate? To be consumed, body and soul, in the Golden Throne's eternal hunger. For without their deaths, humanity itself would be blind and adrift, unable to navigate the stars. To truly understand what it's like to be sacrificed to the Emperor, we have to imagine the journey through the eyes of one such doomed soul. Perhaps they were a child when their power first manifested, a sudden flicker of uncontrolled flame, a vision that terrified their neighbors, or whispers in the dark that weren't entirely their own thoughts. At first, maybe they were shunned. Then feared. And eventually, they were noticed. The black ships came, vast, ominous craft that drift through the galaxy like spectral predators. Their arrival is a sentence. Once you are marked, there is no escape. You are taken, bound by chains of law and faith, and spirited away to a future no one survives. The black ships themselves are like floating prisons, colossal vessels brimming with psychic energy, dread silence, and the muted sobbing of thousands crammed into their lightless holds. Imagine the despair in those corridors, Psykers from every corner of the Imperium, dragged from desert worlds, ocean planets, hive cities, and feudal kingdoms. Each one knows, deep down, that the voyage is one way. The air is thick with fear. Some pray. Some curse. Some lose their minds before Terra ever comes into view. Guards watch them with cold eyes, ready to execute anyone who becomes too dangerous. The psychic aura of so many souls pressed together creates a storm of barely contained madness. And in that storm, hope becomes a faint memory. Then comes Terra. The throne world is not a paradise of shining light and heavenly choirs. It is a choking, suffocating husk, covered in endless spires, Gothic cathedrals, and mountains of machinery. Billions swarm its surface, toiling in service of the Imperium's capital. Above it all, hidden within the vast and incomprehensible palace, lies the Golden Throne, the seat of the Emperor, a machine that consumes Psykers by the thousands to keep burning its psychic beacon known as the Astronomican. Without it, the Imperium could not guide its ships through the madness of the warp. Without it, humanity would fracture, scatter, and die. This is why you were taken. Not because of who you are. Not because of what you could become. But because your death is fuel. Because your soul will burn brighter in death than your body ever did in life. The moment of sacrifice is not gentle. It is not peaceful. It is not a quiet passing. You are led down corridors lit with sickly light, past chanting adepts and somber priests who intone litanies you barely understand. Your body is weak by now, drained from the journey, from the weight of fear, from the psychic suppression fields that clamp down on your mind like a vice. You are chained, because even in your half-starved, trembling state, the Imperium does not trust you. Every step is both a delay and a countdown. You know where this road ends. At last, you arrive in the sanctum. Imagine a chamber so vast it makes you feel like an insect, its walls covered in gilded script and embossed with skulls, its air vibrating with the resonance of holy machinery. At the center, looming like a god machine from ancient nightmares, is the Golden Throne itself. You will not glimpse the Emperor. You are too small, too meaningless. He sits entombed within the throne, his body withered, his form incomprehensible. What you will see instead is the ritual, the altar where psychers are bound, the conduits that will strip the very essence of your being, the priests in their heavy robes who sing hymns of devotion even as they raise the tools of your end. The moment comes. You are strapped down, metal cold against your flesh. A chant rises in unison, echoing through the chamber like the heartbeat of a machine. The adepts call out praises to the Emperor, not for your sake, but for theirs, for the reassurance that your obliteration has meaning. And then, the machine awakens. It begins to drink you. Not just your blood, not just your body, but everything that makes you you. Imagine your mind unspooling, thoughts unraveling like threads tugged loose by an invisible hand. Imagine your soul pulled from your chest like fire from a dying star. It is agony, incandescent and all-consuming. There is no scream loud enough. There is no word strong enough. You dissolve in a torrent of light, and in that dissolution, the Emperor feeds. For you, it ends there. There is no after. No second chance. No peace. Your individuality is annihilated in the service of the Imperium. But for humanity, your death buys another fraction of a day, another pulse of the Astronomican across the void. You were fuel, and in being consumed, you have fulfilled the most sacred, and the most horrifying, duty a human can offer. And that, more than anything, is the truth of being sacrificed to the Emperor. It is not glorious. It is not noble. It is not a choice. It is the reduction of your existence to ashes on a pyre that never stops burning. It is terror weaponized as faith, despair sanctified as duty. And it is a reminder that in the far future of Warhammer 40,000, survival is not life. Survival is suffering, and even in death, there is no release. To understand more deeply what it's like to be sacrificed to the Emperor, we need to step back and look at what leads to that final moment on the Golden Throne. Because the experience is not just about the instant of death, it's about the long road of inevitability, the suffocating awareness that you are marching toward a fate you cannot resist. The Imperium thrives on inevitability. It thrives on crushing the individual under the weight of something far larger and far more terrible than any one person can hope to oppose. For the Psyker destined for sacrifice, life becomes a theater of inevitability, where every act, every breath, every fleeting thought is leading to the same curtain fall. Imagine the moment your psychic abilities are first discovered. Perhaps you were a child in a hive city, where millions live and die in stacked levels of concrete and steel. The air is toxic, the streets dangerous, and you are already one of countless faces in the machine of industry. But then something happens. Maybe you heard whispers in your mind that weren't yours, or a bully who struck you suddenly found himself writhing in pain without your hand ever touching him. It's small at first, easy to deny, easy to hide. Yet in the Imperium, nothing stays hidden forever. Neighbors whisper. Families turn suspicious. And then comes the accusation, witchcraft. You are dragged before local authorities, and in a society where faith is law, the verdict is inevitable. You are cursed. You are a danger. And so you are marked for collection. Or perhaps your fate began on a distant agri-world, where fields stretch endlessly and your family works the land to feed billions on other planets. Out here, things seem simpler. Life is harsh but quiet. Yet when you touched the soil, it pulsed with unnatural life. Or when you dreamed of things you could not have known. Your family tried to keep it secret, perhaps even protect you. But secrecy is treason, and treason is heresy. And so when the black ship descended, casting its shadow across the sky, there was nowhere to run. Your family wept, perhaps begged. But you were taken anyway. For once you are identified as a Psyker, your life is no longer yours. The black ships are not rescue vessels. They are not hospitals. They are not schools where you will learn to master your gift. They are prisons, filled with cages, suppressors, and silence. The journey to Terra is long, and for most Psykers, it is a journey into despair. The Imperium does not coddle its sacrifices. You are treated as dangerous cargo. Guards watch you not with pity but with cold efficiency, knowing that even a single unbound Psyker could unleash horrors that would doom the entire ship. The warp, through which the vessel travels, presses against the walls like a hungry predator, its whispers magnified by the thousands of minds packed inside. And you, weak, scared, trembling, feel it gnawing at the edges of your thoughts. Some Psykers snap under this strain long before they reach Terra. Their screams echo in the black corridors until the guards silence them with lost fire. It is a warning to the rest: stay quiet, stay chained, and pray your mind does not break before your body is delivered. Arrival at Terra is overwhelming. The sheer scale of the world is incomprehensible. Hive cities on other planets seem like towering giants, but here, they are dust compared to the endless sprawl of the Imperial Palace. The sky itself seems dim, drowned beneath layers of smog and industry. Statues of saints and angels rise so high they disappear into clouds of ash. Pilgrims flood the streets in tides of flesh, their eyes wet with devotion, their voices cracked from endless hymns. But you are not one of them. You are not here to worship. You are here to die. And in some dark corner of your mind, you wonder if that is worship enough. The path to the throne is lined with ritual. The priests and adepts who escort you chant endlessly, speaking words you do not understand but that hammer into your soul like nails. The deeper you are taken into the palace, the heavier the air becomes. The psychic weight of the Emperor's presence presses down on you, smothering every thought, every rebellion, every last flicker of hope. Some collapse before they reach the chamber, their bodies unable to bear the pressure. They are dragged along anyway, because even the weak must burn. No sacrifice is wasted. And then, in the sanctum of the Golden Throne, you see the machine of your doom. The first impression is scale, so vast, so incomprehensible, it makes you feel like a mote of dust drifting before a cosmic storm. Golden plating, crusted with the bones of saints and heroes, stretches endlessly. Mechanical conduits writhe like veins across its frame, carrying psychic fire in currents of screaming light. The throne hums, not with sound, but with resonance that vibrates through your very marrow. It is alive. It is hunger given form. And somewhere within it, hidden from your gaze, is the Emperor himself, a corpse god sustained only by the constant devouring of Psyker souls. The priests bind you to the altar. Cold metal clamps lock around your wrists and ankles, digging into your flesh. Their chants rise, the rhythm pounding like war drums. You hear the litany: your death will serve the Emperor. Your soul will strengthen his light. Your end is not death but ascension. It is a cruel joke, but one the Imperium believes with every fiber of its being. You are told you should feel honored. But in that moment, all you feel is terror. The extraction begins. It is not a blade that kills you, not fire, not poison. It is something far worse. A pull begins deep in your chest, tugging at the very essence of who you are. At first, it feels like suffocation, as if your lungs are collapsing. Then it grows stronger, ripping into your mind, tearing loose your memories, your identity, your being. Every moment of your life, the first steps you took, the sound of your mother's voice, the smell of your home, flashes before your eyes, not as comfort, but as raw material being consumed. The Emperor is eating you, and every shred of resistance only prolongs the torment. You burn from the inside out, a human candle lit on an altar you never chose. And then, silence. There is no release. No heavenly vision. No whisper of peace. Your consciousness implodes, scattered like ash in the wind. To the Imperium, you are gone. To the Emperor, you are sustenance. To history, you are forgotten. But in that moment, your agony feeds the Astronomican, the great beacon that shines across the warp, guiding Imperial ships through the nightmare tides of the Imperium. Billions of lives continue because yours has ended. Billions will never know your name, never know your face, never know that their survival was purchased with your soul. And the cycle continues, day after day, year after year, millennium after millennium. That is what it means to be sacrificed to the Emperor, not a noble martyrdom, not a glorious offering, but the total annihilation of self into a machine of survival. Your death is fuel. Your life is nothing. Your soul is the Emperor's meal, and in the grim darkness of the future, that is the highest honor the Imperium can imagine. To grasp the full weight of being sacrificed to the Emperor, one must understand the paradox at the heart of the Imperium of man. The Emperor is both savior and destroyer, God and prison keeper, life giver and soul consumer. For the faithful, being chosen as a sacrifice is the holiest of destinies, a final act of devotion to the master of mankind. For the Psyker condemned to it, however, it is a nightmare of inevitability. This contrast between reverence and horror defines the experience. It is what makes the ritual so utterly devastating. To the Imperium, your death is sacred. To you, it is torment. When the priests tell you that your sacrifice sustains the Astronomican, they are not lying. Without you, without the thousands who burn alongside you each day, humanity would collapse into darkness. The Astronomican is the light in the void, a psychic beacon that pierces the Imperium's chaos and allows navigators to steer ships across the stars. But that light is not a gift freely given. It is a flame fed by endless corpses, each one a candle that flares and dies to keep the beacon burning. You are not a person in this system. You are a calorie in the diet of empire, a grain of sand in the fuel of survival. And knowing this does not soften the blow. If anything, it makes it worse, because you understand that your life was never yours. It belonged to the Imperium long before you ever drew breath. The priests' voices echo in your ears as the process begins. They speak of unity, of honor, of glory in death. But you notice something in their eyes. These men and women, cloaked in heavy robes and golden sigils, do not look at you as an individual. They do not see fear in your trembling or desperation in your eyes. They see function. They see utility. They see a cog in the machinery of godhood. Your humanity is invisible to them, erased by ritual, washed away by litanies repeated so often they have lost all meaning. In their minds, you were never alive, you were always waiting to die for the Emperor. And yet, within you, there is still the raw pulse of survival. No amount of indoctrination, no amount of ritual, can erase the most primal truth: you do not want to die. Your body fights the chains. Your mind claws against the pull. Even as the Emperor drinks your essence, some part of you screams in defiance. But what does defiance mean in this context? The Emperor is not a foe you can strike. The chains are not iron you can break. The very air you breathe is filled with the weight of his presence, pressing down on you like an ocean crushing a drowning swimmer. Resistance becomes meaningless. And that meaninglessness is perhaps more terrible than the pain itself. Because the pain is unimaginable. There are no words sufficient to capture what it feels like to have your soul torn loose, to be unmade at the deepest level of existence. It is not merely suffering, it is the dissolution of you. Imagine the memories of your life unraveling one by one. The faces of your parents, your friends, your lovers, ripped apart, scattered, erased. Imagine your thoughts slowing, your identity breaking into fragments. Imagine your body still alive, still bound in place, even as the core of your being is devoured. It is a violation beyond death, because death at least carries the dignity of an ending. This is worse. This is obliteration masquerading as holiness. And yet, the Imperium insists that this is noble. Entire choirs of clerics sing hymns of your valor as your essence screams into nothingness. Their chants are meant to drown out the horror, to frame annihilation as ascension. But the truth slips through. You see it in the faces of other Psykers awaiting their turn, eyes wide with terror, lips trembling with prayers they do not believe. You feel it in the way your chains rattle as you thrash, not with honor, but with desperation. The nobility they speak of is for the living, for those who watch from outside, who need to believe in meaning so they can keep feeding more lives into the throne. For you, nobility is a lie that dies the instant the emperor's hunger touches your soul. There is a cruel irony in this system. The emperor, once a being of unmatched vision and power, sought to free humanity from superstition and fear. He despised the idea of gods, despised the chains of faith that bound mankind to ignorance. And now, entombed in his throne, he is worshipped as the greatest god of all, and his throne is fed by the very practices he once loathed. You, the Psyker being sacrificed, are not just a victim of necessity, you are a victim of irony, of a universe that twists ideals into their most grotesque inversions. And in your final moments, when your soul is torn apart in a blaze of psychic fire, you may wonder if the Emperor feels that irony too. Or perhaps, after 10,000 years, he feels nothing at all. Your perspective narrows. The world blurs. Pain consumes thought. It is no longer a process of moments or minutes, it is an eternity compressed into seconds. Time itself bends beneath the weight of your unraveling. Every heartbeat is a century. Every scream lasts forever. And then, just when you think you cannot endure another instant, when you are certain you have already been erased, you realize that the process is not over. Because being consumed by the Emperor is not like being struck down by a weapon. It is not a swift death. It is a slow burning, a gradual peeling away of everything you are. It is torture elevated to cosmic scale. And yet, somehow, your death does not even belong to you. It belongs to the Imperium, to the priests who record your name as a tally in a book, to the Emperor who digests your soul as fuel, to the billions of strangers who will never know you existed. You are devoured by a god who will never speak your name, remembered by no one, honored only in the abstract as a number in a statistic, one of the 1,000 who burned today. And tomorrow, 1,000 more. And the day after, 1,000 more again. You are lost in a tide of sacrifice so vast that even the word sacrifice loses meaning. It becomes routine. It becomes function. And that is the ultimate cruelty. Your suffering is normalized, industrialized, sanctified, until even the memory of your individuality is ground into dust. When the end finally comes, when the last spark of your essence is consumed and the chains that bind your body fall slack, it is not release you feel, not peace, not victory. It is nothing. Your story is over. The Astronomican burns on. The Imperium marches forward. The priests turn to the next trembling Psyker. The throne never sleeps, never rests, never pauses to honor the ones who fuel it. The Emperor endures, but you are gone. Forever. And that is the reality. Being sacrificed to the Emperor is not heroism. It is not chosen martyrdom. It is consumption. It is the dehumanization of the self into raw fuel. It is the perfect image of the Imperium itself, a machine that survives only by devouring the lives of its own people, sanctifying horror and calling it faith. What is perhaps most chilling about the experience of being sacrificed to the Emperor is how ordinary it becomes within the Imperium. To you, the Psyker strapped to the altar, it is terror beyond imagining. To those who witness it daily, it is routine, a process as common and necessary as breathing. The priests of Terra see thousands of Psykers perish each day, and for them, the screams are not horrifying. They are background noise, the expected accompaniment to sacred duty. The endless dying becomes liturgy, the agony transformed into hymn. And in that normalization lies a special kind of horror. When suffering is repeated so often that it ceases to shock, it becomes the bedrock of empire. Consider the perspective of the faithful masses. To the average citizen of the Imperium, those chosen for sacrifice are not victims but martyrs. Their deaths are celebrated in sermons, their loss wrapped in words of divine honor. Priests tell the people that to be consumed by the Emperor is the greatest possible destiny, that the Psyker's soul does not vanish but instead merges with the God Emperor, strengthening his eternal will. It is a comforting lie, a story told to soothe the unimaginable. Because the truth, that each soul is annihilated, extinguished, gone forever, would sow despair. And despair is heresy. Better to believe in ascension than face the void. And yet, even among the faithful, there are whispers. Whispers of what really happens within the walls of the imperial palace. Whispers of the agony, of the stripping away, of the screams that echo in the deepest chambers where no hymn can drown them out. These whispers are dangerous, for they corrode faith, and faith is the only glue that holds the Imperium together. Questioning the sacrifice is questioning the Emperor himself, and to question the Emperor is death. So the whispers are silenced, stamped out by the Inquisition, crushed beneath the iron heel of dogma. In this way, the truth of the sacrifice is hidden not only from those outside, but from those within. The Psykers who perish know the reality. Everyone else must believe the lie. Imagine again, though, what it feels like for the condemned Psyker. Your chains are not just iron or steel, they are dogma, expectation, inevitability. Even if you could escape the black ship, even if you could flee the priests and guards, where would you run? The Imperium spans 1,000,000 worlds, each one dripping with faith in the Emperor. There is no corner of the galaxy where his shadow does not fall. You cannot hide from destiny when destiny is enshrined in the very laws of your species. You are trapped not by walls but by culture, by faith, by the sheer immensity of the machine you are born into. And that trap is perhaps more suffocating than the chains around your wrists. The procession into the Golden Throne's sanctum is designed to strip you of any last fragments of individuality. You are paraded not as a person, but as a vessel, an offering. The halls echo with chants that erase your name, chants that reduce you to sacrifice, sustenance, offering. Even the language denies you personhood. By the time you are laid upon the altar, you have already been erased in the eyes of others. The final act, the consumption of your soul, is merely the physical conclusion of what has already been done spiritually and socially. You were dehumanized long before the throne devoured you. And then the pull begins again. The psychic extraction is not mechanical in the way a machine drains power from a battery. It is alive, intimate, invasive. You feel the Emperor's presence inside you, not as a gentle light, but as an all-devouring furnace. It touches every part of you, prying open your thoughts, ransacking your memories, ripping your identity apart piece by piece. And though you are surrounded by priests singing hymns of glory, the intimacy of the act is grotesque. It is as if the universe itself is violating you, stripping you bare before obliterating you. That sense of being laid open, of being seen and then destroyed, magnifies the terror beyond anything physical. What adds another layer of cruelty is the knowledge that your death is not unique. You are one of thousands that day. Even as you scream, another screams beside you, another behind you, another ahead of you. The cycle is endless, the assembly line of annihilation constant. Your agony is not special. Your death is not remarkable. You are interchangeable, one sacrifice among countless millions across the millennia. And the realization sinks in, not only are you being destroyed, but you are being destroyed in anonymity. You will not be remembered. You will not be honored. You will not be mourned. You are nothing but fuel. From the outside, though, this anonymity is transformed into glory. The masses do not need your name. They do not need your story. All they need is the idea, a psyker burned for the Emperor, a soul offered in devotion. The abstraction comforts them, strengthens them, gives them something to cling to in a universe that wants to devour them. And so the machine continues. Your individuality is erased, but your absence is turned into propaganda, a weaponized story told to billions who will never know that the truth was agony, not glory. In those final seconds, as your soul is torn apart, you may wonder if the Emperor knows you. If he sees you. If he cares. The priests say he does, that every sacrifice is noted, that every offering strengthens his light. But in the furnace of consumption, there is no sense of recognition, no whisper of acknowledgement. You are food. And food is not thanked. Food is not loved. Food is not remembered. It is devoured, digested, forgotten. And the realization that the God you are dying for does not even see you, that is perhaps the sharpest blade of all. Still, even as your soul unravels, you cannot escape the terrible truth: your death matters. Not to you, not to your family, not to those who knew you, but to the Imperium as a whole. Without you, without the thousands burning beside you, the Astronomican would gutter out. Warp storms would close in. Ships would be lost. Entire worlds would starve. Humanity itself would crumble. And so your annihilation is meaningful, but only in the coldest, most utilitarian sense. You are fuel in the engine of survival. You are kindling in a fire that must never go out. Your worth is measured in calories of psychic energy, not in love or memory or dignity. That is what it means to be sacrificed, to matter and not matter, to be both essential and erased. When at last the process ends, and the Emperor's hunger has stripped you clean, the priests remove your body. Sometimes it is burned, sometimes entombed, sometimes simply discarded. It does not matter. What mattered was the soul, and the soul is gone. Your body is an empty shell, an afterthought. And then the next Psyker is dragged in, the next chain is locked, the next hymn is sung. The wheel turns, endlessly, grinding lives into light. And so the truth settles like ash: being sacrificed to the Emperor is not a singular event. It is not about you at all. It is about the system, the machine, the endless process that swallows individuality and sanctifies suffering. You were never chosen. You were never special. You were always just another flame, waiting to be burned out in the darkness. There is a peculiar cruelty in the fact that the Imperium not only consumes its Psykers but demands that they revere the process. From the moment you are identified, you are told, again and again, that your destiny is glorious. Priests hammer it into you, guards bark it at you, even common citizens whisper it as you are marched past in chains. It is meant to numb you, to transform terror into pride. But for most Psykers, the words fall hollow. You are terrified, and terror does not bend easily into joy. Yet the Imperium insists. And when enough voices insist, even lies begin to feel like truths. By the time you are placed before the Golden Throne, your identity is already half dissolved beneath the weight of this indoctrination. You find yourself repeating phrases you do not believe, clinging to scraps of doctrine as if they might soften what you know is coming. The Emperor protects. The Emperor guides. The Emperor receives me. Words meant for comfort, words meant for surrender. But they taste like ash in your mouth, because you can feel the reality pressing closer, the cold metal, the chanting priests, the furnace hunger of the Emperor's presence. The truth is undeniable. The lie is unbearable. And you are suspended in the space between. If there is any mercy, it is this: you are not alone. Thousands of Psykers share your fate, each one on the same march toward annihilation. Some cling to faith, some to madness, some to silence. You look into their eyes and see your own reflection: fear, exhaustion, resignation. And in that moment, you feel the cruelest kinship imaginable. These strangers are the only ones who truly understand what is about to happen to you, because they too will be devoured. Their screams will echo alongside yours, their souls will flare and vanish beside yours. It is solidarity in obliteration, companionship in doom. A bond forged not in life but in the certainty of death. But if there is any comfort in that kinship, it is fleeting. Because when the moment comes, the process isolates you absolutely. The priests drag you alone to the altar. The chains snap shut around you. The lights blaze overhead. And the furnace of the Emperor's presence focuses entirely upon you. It does not matter that thousands have come before, or thousands will come after. In that instant, you are alone in the most intimate and terrifying confrontation a human can endure, face to face not with a God of love or mercy, but with a God of need. And that God will unmake you without hesitation, without acknowledgement, without pause. The extraction begins, and words like pain and fear stop being useful. Pain implies the body, but what you feel is not limited to nerves or flesh. It is the unraveling of thought, the combustion of memory, the burning away of your essence. Fear implies anticipation, but in this moment there is no anticipation, only immediacy, a tidal wave that leaves no room for reflection. What you experience is beyond human vocabulary, and that in itself is a cruelty. Because to suffer without words is to suffer without witness. Even in your own mind, you cannot fully comprehend what is happening. You dissolve too quickly to describe yourself. There are flashes, though, moments that cut through the inferno. You remember your childhood, fleeting images of laughter, of warmth, of faces long forgotten. They are not memories rising naturally. They are being torn from you, ripped out as fuel, each one leaving a hollow space in its absence. You realize, with a sickening clarity, that your life is being mined like ore. Every joy, every sorrow, every secret, stripped and consumed to feed the Emperor's light. And the horror is doubled by the knowledge that nothing will remain. No afterlife, no echo, no trace. You are not merely dying. You are being deleted. The priests continue their chants, voices rising in ritual cadence, drowning out the sound of your screams. To them, this is a triumph, a sacred moment. To you, it is torment. And yet, you begin to understand the brilliance of the lie. If enough people repeat that this is holy, that this is noble, then perhaps the horror can be reframed. Perhaps the torment can be seen not as cruelty, but as destiny. You realize that the priests are not only chanting for the Emperor, they are chanting for themselves, to shield their own minds from the truth of what they are witnessing. They cannot see you as a person, because to see you as a person would make them complicit in atrocity. So they transform you into a sacrifice, a saint, a symbol. In their eyes, you are already gone, already more myth than flesh. And then comes the breaking point. Your soul, stripped layer by layer, reaches its final thread. You feel it snapping, feel your essence collapsing inward. The last fragments of identity flare like dying embers. And in that instant, whether it is true or only illusion, you sense the Emperor himself. Not as a face, not as a voice, but as a pressure, a presence vast beyond comprehension. It is hunger, yes, but also inevitability. You are nothing before it, a drop of water falling into an endless ocean. And then the drop is gone, and the ocean is unchanged. The silence that follows is absolute. Your body remains, but hollow. Your soul has been taken, consumed, annihilated. The priests mark your passing with a gesture, a prayer, a tally in their books. And then you are discarded. Your shell is wheeled away. The chains are reset. Another Psyker is brought forth. The cycle continues, endless, merciless. You are gone, and the Imperium does not pause to remember. The galaxy does not pause to mourn. The machine grinds on. And this is the essence of the experience, not just the pain, not just the terror, but the erasure. To be sacrificed to the Emperor is to be erased from history, consumed and forgotten in the same instant. Your death matters immensely in its function, but not at all in its memory. You sustain billions, but no one sustains the thought of you. You are both essential and invisible. And in that contradiction lies the true cruelty of the Imperium's greatest ritual. For the Psyker, the journey ends here. But for the Imperium, the journey never ends. Thousands more are taken tomorrow, and thousands more the day after. The throne hungers eternally, and humanity feeds it eternally. And so the wheel turns, grinding Psykers into light, devouring souls to keep the galaxy alive. It is survival bought with annihilation. It is faith built upon lies. It is the reality of the 41st millennium. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is no peace, no respite, no hope. Only sacrifice, endless and unrelenting. To be sacrificed to the Emperor is not only an individual experience but part of a greater tapestry woven from 10,000 years of blood and faith. Each Psyker's annihilation is a thread, and together those threads form the fabric of the Imperium's survival. But what makes the tapestry so grim is not just its scale, it is its permanence. The cycle has gone on for millennia, and it will continue for millennia more. Every Psyker who steps onto the altar does so knowing they are not the first, and they will not be the last. Their death is swallowed by history, their agony drowned in the chorus of countless others. And that permanence weighs heavy, even before the moment of sacrifice. Consider the journey through the eyes of one condemned. Long before you reach the golden throne, the inevitability of your fate seeps into your bones. You feel it in the way the guards look at you, not as a person, but as cargo. You feel it in the chants of the priests, who do not speak to you but to the emperor, as though you are already gone. Even in your own thoughts, inevitability becomes a shadow. Each attempt to hope, to dream of escape, is crushed beneath the weight of certainty. You are not living a life anymore, you are waiting to die. The black ships themselves embody this inevitability. Their corridors are designed not for comfort, but containment. Cold metal, oppressive silence, and the ever-present hum of psychic dampeners ensure that your gift, the very thing that made you unique, is shackled until the moment it destroys you. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months. Hunger gnaws, fear festers, and despair spreads like rot. The journey is not just physical, it is psychological. By the time you reach Terra, your spirit is already half broken. The Imperium does not want you arriving as a person with strength. It wants you arriving as an offering, pliant and ready to burn. Yet the strangest part of this inevitability is the way it transforms even the condemned. Some Psykers, broken by fear, begin to embrace the very destiny they once dreaded. They convince themselves that being consumed is indeed glorious, that they are blessed to serve in this most sacred of roles. It is not acceptance, it is survival of the mind, a desperate clinging to meaning in the face of the unendurable. For others, madness offers escape. They laugh in the dark, whisper to unseen voices, or beg for the process to begin sooner. Their minds fracture before their bodies are ever chained to the altar. And still others resist to the very last breath, their defiance burning hot until the furnace of the emperor smothers it. Each response is different, but all end the same way, consumed, erased, forgotten. And what of the priests who oversee this endless procession? To them, you are not tragedy. You are liturgy. They dress in gilded robes, intone sacred verses, and lift their voices in hymns as the Psykers burn. They see themselves not as executioners but as midwives, ushering souls into the emperor's embrace. Their chants transform agony into devotion, horror into holiness. Yet if you could look into their hearts, what would you find? Do they truly believe the words they speak, or do they cling to ritual for the same reason the Psykers do, because to admit the truth would break them? Perhaps some are zealots, convinced utterly of the emperor's divinity. Perhaps others are hollow, their faith worn thin by years of watching souls unravel. But all of them play their part. For the machine cannot pause, and the throne cannot starve. The sanctum of the golden throne is the culmination of inevitability. It is a chamber of awe and terror, vast beyond comprehension, its walls dripping with gold and skulls, its air heavy with incense and psychic fire. You walk into it not as an individual, but as an offering. The priests chant, the guards restrain, the chains snap shut. And then the moment arrives. The furnace awakens. The emperor reaches. And inevitability becomes reality. In that instant, there is no more hope, no more resistance, no more self. You are not just dying, you are fulfilling a role scripted for you before you were even born. The sensation of consumption is both intimate and infinite. You feel the emperor inside you, stripping away your essence, but you also feel yourself dissolving into something far larger. It is like being a drop of water absorbed into an endless sea, your individuality erased even as your energy becomes part of a greater whole. The priests would call this union. They would say you are merging with the emperor, ascending into his light. But the truth is harsher, there is no you left to merge. There is only fuel, only sustenance. The sea is unchanged by the drop, except to be infinitesimally larger. You are gone, utterly and forever. The aftermath is silence. Not peace, not comfort, but silence. Your body remains, empty, discarded. The priests make their marks in their records, perhaps intone a final prayer, and then turn to the next sacrifice. The wheel grinds on. You are forgotten before the echo of your last scream fades. Your death mattered to the Imperium, but not to anyone within it. It mattered to the throne, but not to the man entombed upon it. It mattered in function, but not in memory. And so your story ends, not with glory, but with erasure. But the horror does not end with you. Because as one sacrifice ends, another begins. Thousands each day, tens of thousands each week, millions each year. An ocean of Psykers, drained dry to keep the Astronomican burning. And as the centuries grind on, the Imperium does not weaken in this ritual, it deepens it. The machine grows more efficient, more unyielding. The chants grow louder. The faith grows stronger. And the truth grows darker, that humanity survives not by triumph, but by feeding endlessly upon its own. And so the paradox remains, to be sacrificed to the Emperor is both the greatest honor and the greatest horror a human can endure. It is worship through annihilation, faith through erasure, survival through suffering. You matter, and you do not matter. You are fuel, and you are holy. You are nothing, and you are everything. And when your soul is gone, the galaxy spins on, the throne hungers still, and the Imperium continues its endless march into the dark. The truth of being sacrificed to the Emperor is not only a story of suffering, it is also a mirror. A mirror held up to the Imperium, to humanity itself, reflecting the cost of survival when survival is valued above all else. In the grim darkness of the far future, nothing is more sacred than endurance. Empires crumble, Xenos threats multiply, demons claw at reality itself, but humanity survives. And it survives by devouring its own, sanctifying despair, and convincing itself that annihilation is holy. To live in such a system is to live beneath a shadow so immense that even your death belongs to someone else. Imagine again the psyche of the condemned Psyker as they approach their final moment. Perhaps they try to cling to the idea of legacy. Perhaps they tell themselves that their death will echo, that they will be remembered in some way. But as they look around the sanctum of the Golden Throne, they see the truth: there are no names here. No plaques, no markers, no memorials. The Psykers who came before are not honored as individuals. They are statistics, numbers entered into endless ledgers, their names lost in seas of ink. Their sacrifice was real, their suffering immense, but their memory erased. And that erasure crushes any hope of legacy. What is left, then, except despair? Some Psykers fight that despair with denial. They tell themselves the priests are right, that their soul will live on within the Emperor, that they will feel his warmth even as their essence is consumed. They cling to this as drowning men cling to driftwood, because without it, there is only the abyss. Others rage against the inevitable, thrashing in their chains, spitting curses at the priests and guards, swearing they will not be fuel. Their resistance changes nothing. The throne devours them anyway. And still others collapse into numbness, their minds shutting down long before the ritual begins. They die before they die, hollow husks awaiting the final spark to snuff them out. What makes the experience even more haunting is that the Emperor himself is silent. For all the hymns and chants, for all the prayers whispered by priests and pilgrims, the Emperor does not speak. He does not thank. He does not comfort. He does not even acknowledge. His presence is a furnace, vast and unyielding, but it is not personal. It is hunger, pure and absolute. And that silence echoes louder than any hymn. In your final moments, you realize that you are not dying for a father, or a shepherd, or a God who loves you. You are dying for a mechanism, a necessity, a machine of survival. And that realization is colder than the chains around your wrists. But the silence does not stop the Imperium from building myths. Outside the palace walls, the faithful believe that each sacrifice is a personal communion with the Emperor, that he greets every soul with open arms. The sermons speak of warmth, of union, of eternal light. These stories keep billions obedient, keep billions faithful, keep billions willing to march into the fire if called upon. And though you, the Psyker, know the truth in your last moments, your truth dies with you. The lie lives on. The machine continues to feed. And the galaxy remains blind to the horror at its heart. The cycle is so complete, so absolute, that even those who know the truth cannot escape it. Some inquisitors, some high lords, some adepts have glimpsed the reality of the Golden Throne. They know the suffering it demands. And yet, even they perpetuate it, because the alternative is worse. Without the Astronomican, the Imperium would fall into chaos. Worlds would be lost, fleets would vanish, humanity would collapse beneath the claws of the warp. The sacrifice is unthinkable, but the absence of sacrifice is annihilation. This is the trap of the Imperium. There is no good choice, only survival or extinction. And so the wheel turns, endlessly, grinding Psykers into light and erasing them into dust. What, then, is it like to be sacrificed to the Emperor? It is like standing at the center of a paradox, where your life is both priceless and worthless, where your death is both holy and meaningless. It is like being swallowed by a god who will never say your name. It is like burning alive from the inside, not in flesh, but in soul. It is terror stretched into eternity, agony sanctified as worship. It is the end of everything you are, delivered not as tragedy, but as necessity. And it is knowing that even as you are consumed, billions cheer your fate without understanding it. But there is one final cruelty to consider. The sacrifice of Psykers is not enough to keep the Imperium safe. For every 1,000 souls devoured by the throne, the galaxy still roils with threats, orcs rage across systems, tyrannids descend in endless swarms, chaos corrupts from within, and alien empires strike from the dark. Your death, your agony, your erasure, it buys only a sliver of survival, a brief delay against extinction. And that knowledge, if it comes to you in your last moments, is the deepest cut of all. You realize that even your obliteration cannot save humanity. It can only buy time. And time, in the grim darkness of the future, is always running out. And so the final truth settles: to be sacrificed to the Emperor is to give everything and gain nothing. To endure the worst torment imaginable, only to be forgotten. To vanish into silence, while the machine that consumed you demands another soul, and another, forever. It is to be erased in both body and spirit, and yet to know that your erasure is what keeps billions alive for another day. It is not noble, not glorious, not merciful. It is cruel, brutal, and unrelenting. And it is the core of the Imperium's survival. If you could whisper one last thought, one last truth before your soul dissolves, perhaps it would be this: that you were human. That you were more than fuel. That you had dreams, fears, loves, and memories that mattered. But the Emperor would not hear it. The priests would not hear it. The Imperium would not hear it. Only the void would hear, and the void does not speak back. And then you are gone. To describe what it is like to be sacrificed to the Emperor is also to describe what it is like to be erased from history. For though the priests chant and the Imperium praises the act, nothing of you remains. You are not remembered as a person, you are remembered as a number, a statistic, a tally in a sacred ledger. There is no shrine to your memory, no song sung in your honor. Your death was necessary, yes, but it was also faceless. And this facelessness is not accidental, it is by design. The Imperium thrives on anonymity, because anonymity transforms suffering into ritual. The fewer names attached to the horror, the easier it is to sanctify. You are not John or Ayla or Seraphine. You are a Psyker. And Psykers exist to burn. This anonymity gnaws at you in the days before your death. You find yourself whispering your own name, repeating it in your mind as though the act of remembering will shield it from erasure. You try to recall the faces of those you loved, the places you walked, the sounds and smells of your home world. But the ship's dampeners cloud your mind, and hunger blurs memory, and despair twists everything into shadow. Even before you reach Terra, the forgetting has already begun. By the time you kneel before the golden throne, the question sears itself into your skull: who was I? And the cruelest truth is that by then, it no longer matters. For those who bear witness, the scene is magnificent. Incense smoke curls upward in shimmering trails. Golden light spills from braziers, reflecting off walls crusted with relics. Choirs lift their voices in unison, hymns echoing through vaulted chambers. To the pilgrim, the sacrifice is awe-inspiring, a holy theater staged to display humanity's devotion to its God. But to the one in chains, it is mockery. The beauty of the chamber contrasts with the horror in your chest. The songs rise as your screams begin. And you understand, in your final moments, that the pageantry exists not for you, not even for the emperor, but for them. For those who must believe this act is glorious, not grotesque. When the consumption begins, it is more than death, it is transformation. The emperor does not simply take your life, he strips it, peels it away layer by layer. Your memories unravel like thread pulled from cloth. Your emotions ignite and vanish, sparks snuffed in the vast hunger of his presence. At first you resist, clutching desperately at fragments of self, your first kiss, your mother's face, the sound of rain on your homeworld's metal rooftops. But resistance only makes the unmaking harsher, because the emperor's need is absolute. Your fragments flare brighter for a moment, then vanish all the faster. Soon there is nothing left to cling to. You dissolve into fuel, and the throne's hunger is momentarily sated. The experience of this dissolution is not like death as mortals understand it. Death, in its natural state, carries the possibility of legacy. The dead are remembered, mourned, spoken of. They may rest in graves, their names etched into stone. But you are not given that dignity. Your soul does not pass into afterlife. It does not wander or linger. It is burned. It is annihilated, consumed utterly to power a light billions depend upon. And the light, though vast, does not remember you. You do not live on in it. You are not preserved. You are erased. The priests tell themselves, and the galaxy, that each Psyker joins the Emperor in eternal unity. But the truth is harsher: there is no unity. There is only fuel. And yet, strangely, there are moments during the consumption that feel almost like communion. The Emperor's presence presses into you, vast and incomprehensible, and for a heartbeat you feel as though you are touching something infinite. You sense echoes of his will, fragments of his unyielding purpose. The galaxy itself seems to flicker through you, warp storms, battlefields, prayers rising from a million worlds. For the briefest instant, you glimpse the enormity of what you are sustaining. And then, just as quickly, it is gone. The Emperor does not linger. He does not bless. He does not comfort. He only consumes. Whatever vision you thought you saw is gone with you, swallowed in the fire. The cruelty is sharpened by contrast. Outside, pilgrims journey across the stars to kneel at the gates of the palace. They weep with joy to know their lives are guided by the Astronomican. They chant praises for the Psykers who ascend to join the Emperor. To them, the sacrifice is proof of humanity's unity, of its holy purpose. They imagine Psykers embraced in light, their souls immortalized in eternal glory. And in their ignorance, they are comforted. But you, who lived it, know the truth: the pilgrims kneel at a shrine of lies. They worship an illusion built upon the erasure of millions. And your screams will never reach them. Yet perhaps that is the most terrifying truth of all: the lie is necessary. Without the Astronomican, the Imperium would collapse. Without the myth, the sacrifices would falter. If pilgrims saw the truth, if they knew Psykers were not glorified saints but devoured fuel, the faith that binds humanity would shatter. Rebellion would spread, despair would corrode, chaos would feast. And so the lie is preserved, repeated, sanctified, until it becomes more powerful than truth. In this way, your death is not only a feeding of the throne, it is a feeding of the lie. Your soul sustains the emperor, and your silence sustains the Imperium's myth. When the priests mark the end of the ritual, they do not pause to mourn. Their voices rise higher, praising the emperor for his endless mercy. To them, your obliteration is proof of his divinity. They lift their hands, their eyes gleaming with fanatic light, and they speak of you as though you were exalted. But you are no longer there to hear it. You are gone. The words fall upon an empty shell, a hollow vessel already dragged aside to make way for the next. And in that moment, the enormity of the machine becomes clear. It is not built for you. It is not even built for the emperor. It is built for itself, for survival, for perpetuation, for the endless grinding of souls into fuel. And so the question lingers, long after you are gone, what is it like to be sacrificed to the emperor? It is to be stripped of name, face, memory, and meaning. It is to be consumed in silence while hymns disguise your screams. It is to die not for glory, but for necessity. And it is to know, even as you are erased, that countless more will follow, and countless more after them, until the end of time. To speak of being sacrificed to the emperor is also to speak of scale. One soul may feel infinite pain, but in the eyes of the Imperium, it is one among millions. That truth is perhaps the most devastating of all, that your suffering is not unique, not exceptional, not even remarkable. It is routine. A number in a ledger, a candle lit and snuffed in the same breath. The priests do not weep for you, because they have seen countless others burn. The guards do not flinch, because their hands have bound hundreds before you. Even the emperor himself does not hesitate, because his hunger has been endless for 10,000 years. In the moment of your obliteration, the galaxy is indifferent. And yet, for you, the moment is everything. Your world contracts to chains and chanting, to fire in your mind and terror in your chest. Your entire existence narrows to this final crucible. You do not see the stars, or the Imperium, or the grand sweep of history. You see only the altar. You feel only the consuming furnace. For you, it is apocalypse. For them, it is Tuesday. This imbalance twists like a knife, the knowledge that what annihilates you utterly is, to the Imperium, nothing more than process. This realization grows heavier the closer you come to the sanctum. The black ships already stripped you of dignity, the endless sermon stripped you of hope. Now, as you are led down golden corridors that gleam like sunlight on water, the sheer indifference of it all presses against you. Statues tower above, depicting saints and heroes, their features sharp and eternal. Murals sprawl across the walls, painted in blood and gold, showing scenes of triumph. The air itself is perfumed with incense, thick and choking, forcing reverence into your lungs. To the Imperium, this is a holy space. To you, it is a tomb. The grandeur mocks you, because you know it was not built to honor Psykers. It was built to erase them beautifully. You want to scream, not in fear but in rage. You want to shout that you are not nameless, not faceless, not simply fuel. You want to remind them of who you are, of what you once were. But your voice is muffled beneath hymns, drowned beneath the choir's relentless rhythm. Even if you spoke, no one would listen. The guards are deaf to you. The priests hear only their own prayers. And the emperor himself, entombed in silence, has not answered a single plea in 10,000 years. In the noise of faith, your individuality dies before the fire even touches you. When the chains close around you, time fractures. Each second stretches, pulling taut like wire. You feel every heartbeat, every breath, every shiver of terror in your limbs. The priests' voices rise, their tones filling the chamber with vibration. And then the hunger descends. It is not gradual. It is not gentle. It slams into you like a hammer through glass, shattering the fragile walls of your mind. Thought scatters, memory burns, self splinters. You cry out, but your cry is swallowed by the chorus. To them, your agony is not interruption, it is harmony. Your scream becomes part of the hymn, woven into the music of annihilation. The pain is not like the body's pain. Wounds and fire and breaking bones have limits. This does not. This is unbounded, infinite, total. It begins in your mind and spirals outward, into every corner of your being. It strips away the idea of you, not just flesh and bone, but thought and memory, hope and fear, dream and desire. Each part of you ignites and vanishes, until you cannot even remember what you have lost. The sensation is like drowning in light, like being unmade in a blaze so vast it does not see you. You are less than a spark, and the furnace devours sparks without counting. And yet, in the midst of this obliteration, there are moments of clarity. You glimpse faces long gone, people you loved, fragments of a life that once mattered. But each time you reach for them, they disintegrate, torn away as sustenance. You realize, with despair deeper than the pain itself, that even memory is fuel. The Emperor consumes not just your power, but your story. You are unmade not only as a soul, but as a history. The life you lived is digested, leaving no trace. And so the horror is doubled. You are not just dying, you are being unwritten. When the final thread of you snaps, the silence that follows is unbearable. Not because it is painful, but because it is nothing. You are gone. You are not watching, not hearing, not feeling. Your body slumps, hollow, drained of essence. The priests see only ritual completed. The guards see only another task done. They wheel you away, discard your remains, and prepare for the next. The machine moves on, utterly untouched by the depth of what just occurred. You screamed, you burned, you vanished, and the galaxy did not pause for even a heartbeat. And yet, outside the chamber, the lie spreads. Pilgrims are told that you ascended into eternal union with the Emperor. Priests assure the masses that your sacrifice was glorious, that your soul now shines as a beacon in his light. They never see your body dragged away. They never hear your screams swallowed by hymns. They believe in a beauty that never existed, a sanctity that was never real. And that belief sustains the Imperium as surely as your soul sustained the Astronomican. Your death fed the throne. Their ignorance feeds the faith. Together, they bind the galaxy in chains that never break. If there is one thing more chilling than the sacrifice itself, it is its banality. For you, it is torment unimaginable. For them, it is routine. That routine is the true engine of the Imperium, horror made mundane, atrocity made ordinary. And in that ordinariness lies its power. Because if the galaxy can normalize the devouring of souls, what can it not normalize? The sacrifice is not just fuel for the Emperor. It is the foundation of an empire that survives by convincing itself that despair is destiny, and cruelty is sacred. So what is it like to be sacrificed to the Emperor? It is like being extinguished in silence while billions cheer. It is like being devoured by hunger too vast to even acknowledge you. It is like realizing that your death is monumental to you and meaningless to everyone else. It is annihilation dressed in gold, erasure wrapped in hymns, despair crowned as glory. It is the ultimate expression of the Imperium, survival at any cost, even the cost of every soul it consumes. To be sacrificed to the Emperor is to live the contradiction at the core of the Imperium. You are told that your life is precious, that humanity is sacred, that the Emperor loves his children. Yet you are shackled, starved, chained, and fed into his fire like coal into a furnace. You are told you are chosen, honored, exalted. Yet no one speaks your name, no one remembers your face, no one mourns your passing. You are told you will be united with the Emperor in eternal light. Yet all that waits for you is silence. And this contradiction is not an accident, it is a design. For the Imperium survives not in spite of its lies, but because of them. The days leading up to your end are almost worse than the end itself. The priests speak at you constantly, their voice is a relentless tide. They assure you that this is your destiny, that your soul will blaze eternal, that the Emperor's arms will embrace you. They call you child of the Emperor, gifted one, saint to be. But when you meet their eyes, you see the hollowness there. They do not see you as human. They see you as role, as function, as sacrifice. Their words wash over you, filling your ears but never touching your heart. Because in your heart, you know the truth: if you were precious, they would not burn you. As you are led into the sanctum, that contradiction becomes unbearable. The chamber is immense, lined with statues of angels and warriors, dripping with gold and firelight. Choirs sing in perfect harmony, their voices rising high enough to shake the walls. The beauty is overwhelming, designed to awe. But to you, it is grotesque. Every statue, every note of music, every shimmering flame is a mask stretched over horror. It is a lie-made architecture, a hymn-made stone. The grandeur exists not to honor you, but to disguise what is about to happen to you. It is theater, staged for the faith of the galaxy. And you are not the audience, you are the prop. When the chains close around your wrists, the mask cracks. The chamber may shine, the choirs may sing, the incense may rise, but none of it can soften the steel on your skin or the terror in your chest. You are no longer audience, no longer participant. You are fuel, prepared for burning. The priests' voices rise, their chants weaving words older than memory. They do not look at you. They look past you, as if you are already gone. To them, you are not a person but a vessel of energy, a shell waiting to be emptied. And then the moment arrives. The Emperor reaches. The hunger is immediate, overwhelming, absolute. It does not knock. It does not ask. It tears into you with the inevitability of a collapsing star. Your mind fractures, your essence ignites, your soul burns. Pain floods you, not of flesh but of self. It is not that your body hurts, it is that you hurt. Every thought, every memory, every secret corner of who you are combusts and vanishes. You try to hold on to something, your name, a face, a memory, but each one is ripped away, flaring bright before being swallowed. And with each loss, you become smaller, thinner, less. You are a candle burning down to smoke. There are flashes, strange, terrifying flashes, of the Emperor himself. Not words, not comfort, but presence. Vast, immeasurable, crushing. You sense a will beyond comprehension, an ocean so vast your drop of self vanishes before it. For the briefest moment, you glimpse the enormity of his burden, the weight of the Imperium, the constant war against the warp, the endless struggle to hold humanity together. And then it is gone. The furnace does not linger. The furnace does not bless. The furnace devours and moves on. Your scream is drowned beneath the hymn. The choir rises louder, not to cover your agony but to sanctify it. Your suffering is made holy by the sound, transformed into worship by the voices around you. To them, you are not screaming, you are ascending. To you, you are dissolving, breaking, dying in the most absolute way possible. And the worst part is not the pain itself. The worst part is the indifference. The Emperor does not pause. The priests do not flinch. The galaxy does not care. Your destruction is not tragedy, it is maintenance. When the last of you snaps, the silence is suffocating. Not peace, not release, nothing. You are gone. Your body slumps, hollow, a vessel emptied. The priests mark the completion of the ritual with a gesture, a note in a book, a chant of thanks. Your corpse is dragged away, discarded in some unseen place. No name spoken, no legacy preserved. You have been consumed, erased, forgotten. And already, another Psyker is led forward, another chain snaps, another hymn begins. The machine does not pause for grief. The wheel turns on. And still, outside, the lie grows. Pilgrims bow at shrines, thanking the Emperor for his mercy. Citizens chant prayers, believing Psykers like you now shine in his embrace. Entire worlds recite litanies of gratitude, their voices rising like a tide of faith. None of them know the truth. None of them will hear your scream. None of them will remember your name. They live in the glow of the Astronomican, blind to the furnace that feeds it. Their ignorance is the only thing that makes their obedience possible. And so the lie must endure. Your annihilation fuels not only the Emperor's light but also the illusion that sustains the Imperium itself. So what is it like to be sacrificed to the Emperor? It is to be lied to from the moment you are taken until the moment you are consumed. It is to be told you are chosen, when in truth you are disposable. It is to be promised glory, when in truth you are erased. It is to scream in agony while others sing in joy. It is to vanish utterly, and to have that vanishing called holy. It is not just death. It is death stripped of dignity, of meaning, of memory. It is the purest expression of what the Imperium truly is, a machine that devours its children, and calls their bones a throne. To be sacrificed to the Emperor is not only an ending, it is a reflection of everything the Imperium has become. 10,000 years of survival, purchased with uncountable souls. 10,000 years of worship, built upon silence and erasure. 10,000 years of lies repeated until they harden into truth. And at the center of it all, the golden throne, burning Psykers into ash and memory into nothing. Your death is not yours. It belongs to the Imperium. It belongs to the lie. It belongs to a machine that cannot stop. For you, though, the experience is singular. The last moments stretch into eternity. The Emperor's hunger rips through you, your soul unraveling strand by strand. Each fragment of who you are, your laughter, your regrets, your loves, your failures, is torn away and devoured. The choir's voices rise higher and higher, not to comfort you but to drown you. The incense chokes the air, thick and heavy, masking the stench of fear. The grandeur of the chamber presses against you, crushing you beneath its weight. And through it all, you scream. You scream because it is all you can do. You scream because words cannot capture what is happening. You scream because you are dying in the truest, deepest sense of the word. And no one hears. But in the moment before you vanish, clarity cuts through. You understand that this is the fate of all Psykers, that the Imperium has normalized your obliteration until it feels as routine as breathing. You realize that your uniqueness, your memories, your soul, your life, is being reduced to fuel. And you realize, with a sickening finality, that this was inevitable from the moment your gift appeared. You never had a chance. You were born to burn. And now you do. Then you are gone. The priests close their books. The guards release your empty shell. Your body is dragged aside, faceless among countless others. The chamber does not pause. The chants do not falter. The throne does not rest. Already another is brought forward, another chain snaps shut, another scream begins. Your erasure is swallowed by the cycle, indistinguishable from the millions before and the millions after. You vanish without trace, without echo, without memory. And the Imperium endures. Outside, billions live by the light of the Astronomican. Fleets sail through the warp, guided by the beacon your soul sustained. Soldiers march, citizens labor, pilgrims pray. They thank the Emperor for his protection. They thank Psykers for their sacrifice. They never see the truth, never hear the screams, never understand what was truly taken. To them, the machine is holy. To you, it was horror. But you are gone, and your truth died with you. Only the lie survives. This is the final cruelty, that your suffering was necessary. Without it, without the unending river of Psyker souls fed into the throne, humanity would fall. Warp storms would swallow fleets. Worlds would be lost in darkness. Chaos would descend unchecked. The Imperium's survival demands your annihilation. And so your agony is justified, sanctified, transformed into glory. The lie makes survival possible, and survival makes the lie inescapable. There is no way out. There never was. And that is why the wheel will never stop turning. So what is it like to be sacrificed to the Emperor? It is like being erased from existence, while billions live in the light you unwillingly sustained. It is like being devoured by hunger too vast to acknowledge you, while priests sing praises you will never hear. It is like being told your annihilation is holy, even as you know it is not. It is the end of everything you are, given to a machine that will never remember you. It is the perfect reflection of the Imperium itself, endless, merciless, consuming, unbroken. And perhaps, if anything remains of you in the echo of silence, it is this, the knowledge that you were human. That you lived, that you feared, that you hoped. That you were not only fuel. That you had a name, even if no one will speak it now. That you mattered, even if the Imperium denies it. That truth, fragile and fleeting, may not endure. But it was real. You were real. And though you are gone, obliterated beyond recall, the simple fact that you lived once is the only defiance left. The only whisper against the void. And then the whisper fades. And you are nothing. And the machine continues forever.